Welcome back to the Stoic Journey. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were the only one trying in a relationship? Always showing up, always caring, always putting them first, only to feel like you were invisible? Like nothing you did was ever enough? You bent over backward for them. You gave them your time, your energy, your love. You dropped everything at a moment's notice to be there for them, didn't you? And what did you get in return? Rejection, disrespect, like you didn't matter. You've been kind, patient, understanding, everything they didn't deserve. You thought if you just tried a little harder, they'd finally see your worth. So you stayed. You fought for them. You reasoned, explained, maybe even begged. You gave them every last piece of yourself, hoping for just a scrap of acknowledgement. But here's the hard truth. No matter how much you gave, it was never enough. Not because of you, but because they didn't value it. And every time they ignored you, every time they brushed you aside, they were sending a message you didn't want to hear. They never truly saw your worth. But what if I told you, there's one move that changes everything? It's not fighting, it's not pleading, it's not chasing after them, hoping they'll realize what they lost. It's something much more powerful. It's silence. Yes, silence. The simplest, yet most transformative response. When words fail, when actions are ignored, silence speaks volumes. The power of silence. You stopped texting, you stopped calling, you stopped checking in, and just like that, you disappeared from their radar. At first, they'll act like it doesn't matter. They'll play it cool, smiling in public, laughing with friends, and pretending they're totally fine. But here's the reality. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. The quiet starts to get to them. The absence of your texts, your calls, your constant care, it's deafening. And slowly but surely, they begin to notice the void you've left behind. I once knew someone, let's call her Sarah. She was always the giver in her relationships. With her partner, she was all in, planning dates, solving problems, bending over backward to make things work. But her efforts were met with indifference. When she finally stepped back, when she stopped trying so hard, stopped chasing, something amazing happened. Her silence became louder than any argument could have been. Within weeks, her partner reached out, desperate to fix things. Why? Because the absence of her care was unbearable. They realized what they'd lost, and Sarah, she didn't just get their attention, she reclaimed her power. Why silence works. Here's why silence is so powerful. It forces them to confront the truth. They're no longer distracted by your constant presence. They're left alone with their thoughts, their regrets, and the reality of what they've lost. Silence shifts the dynamic entirely. Suddenly, you're not the one chasing. They're the ones wondering, why aren't they calling? Did I lose them for good? And that uncertainty, it's what forces them to reflect on their actions. But here's the key. Silence isn't just about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your power. And in the next section, I'm going to show you how to use this silence not just as a tool for change, but as a catalyst for your growth. So if you're ready to turn your silence into strength, make sure to hit that like button right now. Not only does it help this message reach more people who need it, but it's a small way to declare, I'm choosing myself. And don't forget to subscribe, because this journey, it's only just beginning. Their hidden struggle. Have you ever wondered what happens in the quiet moments? When they're sitting alone, no notifications lighting up their screen, no texts from you to brighten their day? That's when it hits them. That's when your silence cuts through everything they've been pretending to feel. And here's the kicker. They'll never admit it. Not to you. Not to anyone. But behind their smile, behind the facade of I'm fine, something's unraveling. You see, silence is like a mirror. It reflects back to them everything they've been avoiding, their own choices, their own behavior. And in that silence, they're forced to confront a truth they've been running from. The fact that you're no longer there to cushion their ego or fix their messes. They replay every memory, every moment when you showed up, every time you forgave their mistakes, every time you cared, even when they didn't deserve it. And now, that warmth, that safety net, it's gone. I'll never forget a friend of mine, let's call him James. James was the guy everyone relied on. He was always there for his partner, always the one to make things right. And his partner? Well, let's just say they got a little too comfortable with James always picking up the pieces. One day, James decided enough was enough. He stopped calling, stopped checking in. He didn't even say goodbye. He just went silent. At first, his partner acted like they didn't care. They even posted on social media, pretending life was great. But within weeks, the cracks started to show. They began reaching out to mutual friends, asking, "Have you heard from James?" By the second month, they were leaving voicemails, saying things like, "I just wanted to talk." James told me later, it wasn't about making them miss me. It was about showing myself I could live without them. And that's the true power of silence. So why does this happen? Why does your silence feel so suffocating to them? Here's the truth. It's because they were used to your presence as a constant. Your care, your attention, it became their safety net. And when you take that away, they're left with the one thing they can't escape: themselves. Your silence forces them into self-reflection. They're not just missing you, they're questioning themselves. Why did I let them go? Why didn't I treat them better? What if I never find someone like that again? It's like a loop in their mind they can't shut off. And here's the best part. This struggle, it's not your burden to carry anymore. It's theirs. And trust me, this is where the tables truly start to turn. If this is resonating with you, if you felt the power of silence or you're ready to embrace it, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Not only does it show that this message matters, but it also helps this video reach more people who need it. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of this journey. Now, here's the thing. Their hidden struggle, it's just the beginning. What happens next is even more revealing. Because as much as they try to hide it, as much as they act like your silence doesn't bother them, there's only so long they can keep up the act. In the next section, we're going to uncover how their mask of indifference starts to crack. And trust me, when it does, the truth will be impossible for them to ignore. Stay with me because the journey we're on, it's only just getting started. What if they move on? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, that nagging, relentless question that keeps you up at night. What if they move on? What if my silence doesn't matter to them at all? Yeah, I hear you. That fear, it's real. It's heavy. It sits in the pit of your stomach like a weight you just can't shake. You're imagining them smiling with someone new, posting pictures, living their best life, and forgetting you like you never even existed. It's enough to make you question everything, isn't it? But let me tell you something. It's not what you think. See, when someone moves on quickly, it's not about forgetting you. It's about escaping themselves. Think about it. People who truly value a connection don't just replace it overnight. They don't just swap out deep, meaningful bonds like an old pair of shoes. No, what they're doing when they jump into something new is running. Running from the emptiness, the regret, and the gnawing realization that they let someone irreplaceable slip away. They're not moving on. They're masking their pain. Because facing the truth, that's the hard part. And deep down they know, no amount of distractions can fill the void you left behind. I knew someone, we'll call her Maria. Maria gave everything to her partner. She was loyal, supportive, and always there, even when they didn't deserve it. When she finally walked away, she was terrified. Why? Because 2 weeks later, her ex was already posting pictures with someone new. Maria thought, wow, they've already forgotten me. Did I even matter at all? But here's what happened. A few months later, that relationship fell apart. Why? Because it wasn't real. It wasn't love. It was a distraction, a band-aid for a wound they didn't want to deal with. And guess who called Maria late one night, admitting they missed her? Yeah. That's how it works. They weren't moving on. They were avoiding the pain of her absence. You see, moving on isn't what you think it is. If someone truly valued you, your silence is shaking them to their core. It's forcing them to confront their choices, their actions, and their loss. And if they didn't value you, then let's get real. Why would you want someone who only remembers your worth when you're constantly reminding them? This isn't about them. It's about you. Your silence isn't a strategy to win them back. It's a declaration of your worth. It's saying, I refuse to beg for the attention of someone who can't see my value on their own. And that, my friend, is a power they can't ignore. If this is hitting home, If you're starting to see the power in your silence, take a second to hit that like button. It's a small way to say, I'm choosing myself today. And don't forget to subscribe, because this journey we're on, we're just scratching the surface, and there's so much more to uncover together. But here's the real question. Why are you so focused on what they're doing? Why are you letting their actions or their distractions define your worth? The truth is, this moment is about you. It's your chance to grow, to rebuild, to become someone so strong, so confident, that their opinion doesn't even matter anymore. And in the next section, we're diving into exactly how to do that. How to take all that energy you've been giving away and pour it back into yourself. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Silence is your superpower. Let me ask you something. What if the most powerful weapon in your arsenal isn't your words, your actions, or even your emotions? What if it's your silence? You see, silence isn't weakness. It isn't avoidance. It's strength. It's control. It's the power to say, I'm not playing your game anymore. And when you embrace that silence, you don't just change the dynamic with them. You change the dynamic with yourself. Most people think silence is about them, about making the other person miss you, regret their choices, or realize your worth. And sure, that might happen. But here's the real truth. Silence isn't about teaching them a lesson. It's about teaching yourself a lesson. It's about realizing you don't need their validation. You don't need their acknowledgement. What you need is you. And every single day you hold that silence, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you're stronger than your impulses, that you're bigger than the drama, that you're unstoppable. I knew someone, we'll call her Lily. Lily was stuck in a toxic cycle with someone who never appreciated her. She'd always be the first to reach out after an argument, the first to apologize, even when she wasn't in the wrong. But one day, Lily decided she was done. She went silent. At first it was hard. She told me every second I wanted to text, to check in, to say something. But instead she poured that energy into herself. She started running every morning, picked up a hobby she'd put off for years, and reconnected with friends she'd been neglecting. Fast forward 6 months. That person? They were blowing up her phone with apologies. But here's the kicker. Lily didn't care anymore. She looked me in the eye and said, the silence wasn't about them. It was about me finally learning to value myself. That, my friends, is the power of silence. Here's why silence is your superpower. It shifts the focus. Instead of wasting your time and energy on someone who doesn't appreciate it, you're pouring all of it back into you. Think of silence like a reset button. It gives you the space to rediscover your passions, to rebuild your confidence, and to remember who you are outside of their opinions. And the best part? When you start investing in yourself, you radiate a strength and a confidence that's impossible to ignore. If this is hitting home, if you're ready to embrace your silence as a superpower, drop a comment below and say it out loud. Silence is my superpower. Make that declaration right now. And while you're at it, smash that like button. It's a small step, but it's a powerful one. It shows that you're choosing yourself today. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, this journey, we're just getting started, and there's so much more to explore. But here's the thing. Silence isn't just about standing still. It's about movement, forward movement. It's about growth. And in the next section, I'm going to show you how to use this silence as a launch pad to become stronger, sharper, and truly unstoppable. Because here's the truth. When you stop chasing them, you start chasing something far more important, your potential. The stages of regret, what they're feeling. Let's pull back the curtain for a moment. Ever wonder what's really happening in their mind after you go silent? Sure, on the surface, they seem fine, maybe even better off. But underneath that polished exterior, a storm is brewing. First, it's the realization. That initial shock hits them like a wave. Suddenly, they notice the absence of your texts, your calls, your presence. And for the first time, they feel it. You're not there anymore. And here's where the mask comes in. They'll post on social media, smiling with friends, showing the world they're unbothered. But don't fall for it. That's all it is, a mask. Beneath it, cracks are already forming. Then comes the second stage, regret. And let me tell you, it's heavy. At first, they try to ignore it. They keep themselves busy, fill their calendar, even dive into something new, maybe a rebound, maybe a hobby. But here's the truth. Those distractions, they don't work. The weight of your absence, it's relentless. It creeps in during the quiet moments, when they're lying awake at night, when a song reminds them of you, or when they catch themselves scrolling through old messages. They start to realize no one else compares to what you brought into their life. Your patience, your kindness, your unwavering presence, it wasn't just rare. It was irreplaceable. I'll give you an example. I once heard from someone who said, "At first, I didn't even notice they were gone. I thought, no big deal, I'm fine." But then, weeks turned into months, and every time they had a bad day, every time something reminded them of their ex, they realized, I can't just call them anymore. I can't hear their voice. I can't go back. That's when regret hits like a tidal wave. They're not just missing your presence, they're mourning the connection they took for granted. And trust me, that realization, it's not something they can shake off easily. So, why is this important for you to understand? Because this is where the tables start to turn. You're no longer the one chasing validation. Now, they're the ones sitting in their feelings, questioning their choices, and realizing what they lost. And here's the kicker. This stage isn't just about regret. It's about clarity. If they truly valued you, this regret will push them to grow, to reflect, and maybe even to reach out with sincerity. But if they don't, then their regret will stay just that, a fleeting feeling. And that tells you everything you need to know about their capacity to value what you offered. Visuals. Someone journaling, reflecting, and hesitating before picking up their phone to text, only to put it down again. If this is making sense, if you've seen this play out in your own life, hit that like button right now. Not only does it let me know this is helping you, but it also shares this message with others who need it. And don't forget to subscribe, because next, we're diving even deeper into the stages they go through. And trust me, what comes next is even more revealing. So here's the question. What happens when the distractions stop working? When the weight of regret gets too heavy to ignore? That's the tipping point. That's when their mask of indifference begins to crumble, and the truth comes spilling out. And in the next section, we're going to explore exactly what that looks like. Trust me, you'll want to see this. Because at the end of the day, their regret isn't your burden. It's your proof. Proof of how powerful your absence truly is. The moment of reckoning, breaking down or breaking through. This is it. The moment everything comes to a head. The moment they're forced to face the truth. About you, about themselves, and about the choices they've made. Because here's the thing. When the silence becomes too loud to ignore, there's no escaping it. They can't distract themselves anymore. They can't fake indifference. And now they're left with only two paths. They either break down, or they break through. Let me paint a picture for you. They've tried everything to avoid the weight of your absence. New hobbies, a busy schedule, maybe even someone new. But nothing worked. Now, they're standing at a crossroads. On one side, they have to confront their mistakes, the times they took you for granted, the moments they let you slip away. And that, it's painful. It takes humility, strength, and courage to admit they were wrong. On the other side, pride, denial, staying stuck in the comfort of their own ego, even as it crumbles around them. And here's the hard truth. Not everyone will choose growth. Some will stay stuck, convincing themselves they didn't need you in the first place. But whether they break down or break through doesn't change one simple fact. This is your moment of power. I'll never forget two people I worked with who went through this exact stage. Let's call them Jack and Emma. Jack realized too late what he'd lost. He told me, "I didn't think silence could hurt this much. At first, I thought she'd come back, but when she didn't, I had to face it. I let the best thing in my life slip away." Jack broke through. He reached out not just to apologize, but because he had grown. He admitted his mistakes, took responsibility, and showed he had changed. But Emma's story? It was different. Her ex refused to acknowledge their part. They kept posting on social media, pretending they were happier than ever. Even as mutual friends told Emma, "They're miserable. They talk about you all the time." Emma's ex broke down, but they couldn't admit it. Here's the lesson. Whether it's a breakthrough or a breakdown, their journey doesn't change your power. What matters is how you rise during this moment. So why does this matter? Because this stage isn't about them anymore. It's about you reclaiming your strength. It's about realizing that their regret or their pride isn't your responsibility. You see, silence doesn't just show them your worth, it reminds you of your worth. It's about stepping back and saying, I'm done playing games, I'm choosing myself. And when you do that, you become unstoppable. Let's make this real. Right now, I want you to write this in the comments. Silence is my superpower. Declare it, own it, because every moment you stay silent, you're choosing yourself over their games. And while you're at it, hit that like button if this message is hitting home for you. Let's spread this energy to others who need it. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're not done yet. This journey of growth and empowerment, it's just getting started. Here's what I want you to remember. Your silence isn't just about them, it's about you. It's about standing tall, owning your worth, and stepping into a future where you're free from their games, their control, and their regret. You're not just surviving their rejection, you're thriving in your own power. And that's the lesson they'll never forget.